Hey, welcome back. Hi, my name is Christina Carpenter, and I want to talk to you about my journey in writing books. So, my first book was a book of poetry. That was the first book I wrote, which was a spiritual book. I did not have the belief in myself at the time to write a full-length book. Though I did write journaling and poetry, I did not think I had it in me to write a full-length book. And I didn't even have the mind to study or research about writing a book. And as I've come along, I've learned that there are formats and formulas and templates on how to write the book so that you just have to fill it in. There are ways to do things. So like you could follow the author's journey, you could follow a character's arc. There's different ways to show the story going along from beginning, middle, and end. And I did take a children's writers course when I was in college. I was going to school for nursing, and at the same time, I was taking a writing class for writing children's books because I was interested in writing children's books at the time. That was actually the first thing I started learning was how to write for children. And I did articles for children and I wrote them. I didn't try to get them published. I just wrote them and they were pretty good. Like I wrote pretty good books, really good articles. I wrote an article about the woman who made the first flag. Um, can't remember her name, but I think it's Elizabeth. I forget what her name is, but she sold the first flag, and I wrote an article about her. I did different stories. I've done stories for children a lot. I just haven't published any of them. But as I'm thinking about it, I'm thinking I might start to publish a children's book because I just put it off though because I knew it was a lot of work to find a publisher, to find an illustrator because I had a book ready set to go for a children's book that I had. It was like three stories in one. It was like a three-story in one package about love and from different perspectives though. But now that I think about it, they're intended for different audiences. Like one could be more for like a teenager, and then one could be more for like two of them could be for teenagers, and one could be for very young. So I think I could have separated it. I could have made three different books, but I wanted to bundle it into one book with like a series of small stories in it. That was my plan to do a series in one book, but I could just do separate books, but I didn't want to. I don't know. I don't know. But when I read the articles about children's books and children's writing, intention is very important and themes is very important and the overall effect that the reader is going to have, and you don't want to confuse the reader and you want to entertain them, keep their attention. So that's like the most important thing. So I think I would do a separate books. That way it kind of focuses on one book and they don't get lost in each other's space if they're not connected in any way, and give them their own cover, give them their own cover, their own illustration. And then it kind of chunks down the process. Instead of being one big project, it would be a smaller project. Because I have like three totally different children's books that I wrote. Well, they're children's stories. They're more like short stories. So if they're for children, the illustrations is the part that was really a deterrent for me because I was like, okay, I have to find the illustration that speaks to me. And I had drew out pictures for one of the books that I had, which is like a preteen kind of book, but it's not a picture book. So I wasn't really concerned about pictures at the time. I was more concerned about the story. But like my stories, I like to focus on stories of resilience. I think that's a theme that I like to touch on a lot because resilience is important to me in my personal life, and coming through as like the underdog and being like the underdog, the black sheep, like those kind of stories like appeal to me. And like even now, like I watch movies and like the movies I like is like Divergent, like being like the different one, being the black sheep, like those kind of stories really appeal to me because I get it. And I think most of my stories, if ever I continue on a theme path, I think it would be about those things, like theme of the black sheep, the rejected, the underdog, the outcast, something like that, the resilient one. Giving purpose to someone who didn't feel they had purpose. I think that would be the themes that I would go with because I feel very strongly about it. I feel related to that. So coming from finding out what my passion is in terms of writing children's books, it would be about that. Age group wise, I like writing for young adults. Well, I don't know, it's not young adults, it's more like teenagers, because I used to draw teenagers, when I was younger. And I think the teenage demographic is interesting to me, but I find that the teenagers today are so different than how I used to be, because I was always just a timid person. So um I don't know if other people can relate to another timid person unless you're timid yourself, you know? So I would write books for other people, for people who have timidity tendencies, you know, and teaching how to overcome that and be resilient and to come out of it, you know, and to fight for yourself and fight for your life. You have to fight for your life in terms of getting out of being too timid that it becomes a handicap. And I don't want that for people. And I want people to find their communication and their voice. And that is important to me. So in terms of children's books, I think I would go along with those themes. And I think that is important to me. And I think that is something that could be helpful to people if I could find my group. I think my people would be people that are about self-love and girls empowerment. I think that's important. And then also like self-care and self-help groups are great too. And then mental health for like anxiety and things like that, because that's another area I want to help touch on and help people with. But that's what I'm passionate about. So you have to think back on your life and what really sparks interest in you and what's relatable to you and how you could incorporate those themes into your writing so that it really stands out more powerfully because you have a personal connection with it. And that's the most important part about writing children's books. I've written so many children's stories, I just didn't publish them. That's why I wanted to just do a package of stories, you know, short stories, which I might probably still do that, but I also have like short stories that I want to stand alone individually. So it's just the hurdle for me was just illustrations, finding an illustrator. Like that's the whole deal. I feel like that would take me a minute because I'm very particular about images and what I want things to look like. And so I would have to find the right person, the right price. And then illustrations are expensive, you know. At least I think. I'm not sure. I haven't done anything yet, but we'll see. We'll see. With AI though, you could do some things with AI too. So and that cuts down some costs, but we'll see. We'll see. I want to see what's out there. And it's a good idea to think about though, to really bring back to life my children's stories that I've written years ago and never published. Like it would be such a shame to let these things just dust away in my computer, you know, in my notebooks. Like it doesn't make any sense. So definitely children's books is where it's at. And that was where I first started writing, was children's books. And children's books was that was the first thing I started writing. And then after that, I wrote poetry. And I'm still dabbling in novel writing. I did take a few novel writing classes and just to get the outline together. And then I just have to start filling it in and filling in the story and closing it off. And then, you know, doing the editing and all that things like that. So yeah, it's a journey. But it's a good journey. It's a very good journey. It's a very creative journey and I enjoy it. So that's my journey in writing, and that's where I am, and that's where I will be for a little while. And it's a journey. I would love to know other people's journeys, how they're doing. So yeah, that's all for now. Thanks.